Jack Michaels, Bob Stauffer, and Tony Barr here for the panel presented by Coventry Homes. Jack, what are we seeing from this Oilers club? They're coming into that weekend with 3 straight games in their back pocket. What are we seeing from this club over the last week that we didn't see in the first 9 games?
Well, I think, to be fair, the last 2 games were against the Ottawa Senators. I think the biggest thing that set the table for Edmonton for the 3-game winning streak was the 2 games they played against Winnipeg on the road and then against Toronto. I think strides have been made over that sequence of games. They played Toronto tough in the first one at Rogers Place, didn't go their way. They played them tough again the very next game, and that one went their way. So I think they were building their game over those 4 games against Winnipeg and Toronto, against good opponents. And then Ottawa came in staggering, and having just been swept Vancouver, lopsided fashion, they're not getting any saves. And Edmonton kind of feasted that, because just as Edmonton was building its game, Ottawa's game was dropping as a result of, in my opinion, a lack of faith in what was behind them. I don't think the Senators have a bad lineup, and yes, it may sound self-serving because I said before the season I didn't think Ottawa would be that bad. I still don't think they're that bad. I don't think they're getting any saves right now.
Yeah.
But when you're Edmonton, you've got to still win those games.
Yeah.
You can't just show up. You can't just beat a team because you're wearing an Oilers sweater and they're wearing a Sens sweater. And that's what they did, particularly in the second game. They built a 4-0 lead and then kind of locked it down because that was their 3rd game in 4 nights. I'm not sure how much juice the Oilers had that night, actually, but they played a sound defensive game. They had some fresh legs in the lineup that really paid off for them, and they, unlike Ottawa, got some saves.
Bob, a big reason for the Oilers being 6-6-0 to start this season are, of course, McDavid and Draisaitl combining for 46 points already this year. What are you seeing for the dynamic duo that we even haven't even seen in the past, because they're off to an historic start?
Well, I know Connor McDavid has won a Hart Trophy. You know, he's led the league in scoring a couple times, but I actually think this has been an unparalleled performance to start the season. His secondary numbers, those advanced numbers, and some people roll those, their eyes when they hear those numbers, but he's like a 57% Corsi, 58% Fenwick. He's above 50% in the face-off circle. Frankly, he's unlikely not to have a better plus-minus. The amount of scoring chances he's creating for his line mates, and it was great to see Jesse Puljujärvi convert a couple of those in the last game. But to me, McDavid's had a wonderful start. Draisaitl is amongst the NHL leaders in plus-minus. Possession metrics around 50-50 for him, but the caliber of scoring opportunities are better. So the Oilers have got 2 pretty good lines going right now. And you can make an argument right now they got the 2 best players in the National Hockey League. And so if they can get some support in some other areas, they're going to get Mike Smith back on this upcoming road trip, which will give Dave Tippett the ability to split his starters. And I think that, Koskinen going, the Oilers went from playing 4 games in 300 days to Mikko Koskinen getting 9 starts in 16 days. That's a tough ride for any goaltender in this league. They've got some depth in the defense. They've got some depth at forward now. It's going to be really intriguing to see what kind of progression and growth the team can make, but it's all being driven by 2 of the best players in the world.
Jack, let's talk about somebody Bob quickly mentioned in that sentence, and that's Jesse Puljujärvi. 2 goals in the last game. His confidence just seemingly seems to grow with each and every rep, especially skating alongside 97 and 93. What are you seeing from Puljujärvi over the last week?
Well, I think he's more often in those areas where he scored goals. If you look at his first goal the other night against the Ottawa Senators, again, it looked like he was going to have tough luck again around the net. And He had come into that game with the most shots of anyone in the National Hockey League without a goal, but he stayed with it. He didn't, drive by and let someone else grab the rebound. He took the rebound himself and ended up scoring a really nice goal. And then, the second goal is, again, driving in straight lines to the front of the net, which, at times for him in his previous stint had been a challenge. He's using that frame to maximum advantage. So not only does he briefly screen the goaltender, then he makes an unreal tip, and the goal's in the back of the net on the Bouchard shot. So Jesse Puljujärvi's done a lot of things right, and now he's starting to be rewarded for it, and that could be a very dangerous combination when you consider some of the other players that have now been able to slot in roles where they can build their games. Most notably, Zach Kassian. I think Kassian is starting to build his game more from the third line up than he was earlier in the season when he started in the line that now Puljujarvi occupies.
Well, I mean, right now, Darnell Nurse obviously has had a tremendous start to the year, and Tyson Barrie's got 7 points over his last 4 games. But to me, a guy who could, I'm not saying he's going to be as impactful as Yamamoto was last year when he came up on December the 31st. I don't think anybody saw 26 points in 27 games plus 17. But already the other night, Evan Bouchard made a couple plays that even caught a guy like Connor McDavid off, just in terms of how he processes the game and how quickly he gets the puck up. And I think Oilers fans should be pretty excited about Bouchard as a long-term prospect. I know Ken Holland was on Oilers Now yesterday and mentioned that he sort of inferred that it looks like Bouchard's going to play. Wouldn't surprise me if the Oilers go 11-7 again against Calgary on Saturday. I think Evan Bouchard has the highest offensive ceiling of any of the Oilers' young defensemen, and for me, I wouldn't hesitate having him in, and I wouldn't hesitate the Oilers having 4 right-shot defensemen in the lineup, and some games going 6 and some games going 7. The problem is, because there's fewer righties than lefties, you end up in a situation where a lot of righties haven't played on the left side. But Bouchard's a very intriguing prospect with a huge upside, and it's going to be really interesting to see his progression and growth this year.
Let's quickly talk about someone who's also provided offense on the back end, and that's Darnell Nurse. He has 9 points in the opening 12 games. Yesterday, Darnell Nurse was in a lot of projected lineups amongst the top 8 to be considered for the 2022 Olympics. What have you seen from Darnell that's allowing him to become one of the best on Canadian soil?
Well, number one, I think he read the tea leaves and understood the situation with no Oscar Klefbom this year and felt that in order to take that next step, he had to be prepared to, at times, play 28 to 30 minutes a night. And he's come in and done that. I think he's averaging close to 24 and a half now. And not only is that the time on ice leader, but it's some of the leadership that's away from the rink. I think he's, grown into that role along with guys like Connor McDavid and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Leon Draisaitl. A bit of a core. He's part of that leadership core. He's taken ownership of this club's success, in terms of being directly accountable for where they are in the standings. Not so much as point totals or any of that, but wins and losses. I also think he helped elevate Tyson Barrie's game the last couple of games when he's been paired with Barrie. He's brought guys along a little bit. I think he was instrumental in Ethan Bear being able to jump right back in after being sat out and playing with Nurse. I think Darnell has boosted some teammates this year as well. And that's appreciated by that locker room and helps evolve that leadership role that he's now taken. Absolutely, he should be under consideration. And if he continues to embrace that workload and thrive on it, the Oilers are better for it because, again, missing Oscar Klefbom over the course of a longer season is absolutely important and imperative that Darnell continues to kind of take that mantle.
Yeah, 3 goals, 6 assists is the stat line so far for Darnell Nurse heading into Saturday night's action against the Flames. The Oilers will look to make it 4 consecutive victories on Saturday night. For Jack Michaels and Bob Stauffer, I'm Tony Barr signing off for the panel presented by Coventry Homes.